Continuing to track one of the biggest storms we've seen all year, historic storm for many of us, with the potential of seeing one of the biggest rainfalls in the month of October. You can see the rain still streaming in as we head into this Sunday evening. A couple of concern areas are going to be around those burned scars, but we've seen plenty of localized flooding as well from this big atmospheric river driven by that low pressure system, sending that huge plume of moisture in from the Pacific. Here's a look at all the watches and warnings that are out as we head into our Sunday evening. And again, highlighted are some of those burn scar areas, including the Beckworth, the Dixie, the Caldor, even the River Fire north of I-80 here. Those flash flood warnings continuing until 3 o'clock Monday morning. The reason being, we've got this rain instead of snow accumulating in the high country. So we've got the potential for mud and debris flows, as well as landslides and just localized flooding around any of those areas. When we have those burn areas, there's just nothing to prevent those slides from happening when we see rain rates as big as we have throughout the day. Our flood watch will continue as well throughout the valley, with the heavy rain, debris flows and roadway flooding continuing at least through tomorrow. A couple of things to keep in mind when we talk about debris flow evacuations. It's very similar to what we see when we have red flag warnings and the potential for fires spreading very fast. We need to have our preparedness kit ready, as well as communication plan with family and friends. Where do you plan to go? All will follow orders from local officials, because many of those roadways may be closed that you're used to going, and that's why they have to divert traffic. And do not attempt to cross debris flows and move to higher ground. Turn around, don't drown. Same message goes for those debris flows as well. As far as our rainfall, just since midnight, we're closing in on almost 4 3/4 inches of rain in some places in the valley. Now, this line has been really hugging that I-80 corridor here, and then north, Fairfield with 4 1/4 inches of rain. Auburn already up to 5 inches of rain, and it continues to fall. Winds were a huge issue earlier in the day. They are starting to back off as we head towards tonight, but those peak wind gusts were over 50 miles per hour for Placerville and Oroville, with a 55-mile-per-hour peak wind gust. Marysville close to a 50-mile-per-hour peak wind gust. So you have the water and then the winds whipping through, so everything blowing around for today. Our wind advisory expires, though, at 11 o'clock tonight, with those gusts up to 50 miles per hour. We've seen occasional power outages and plenty of trees down, as well as limbs and tree debris all over the place, clogging our drains and causing those urban and small street flooding areas. You can see this. This is in Curtis Park in Sacramento, along 24th Street, how the water was just kind of coming up here. We haven't quite entered leaf pickup season, so it was really on us to clean all of those storm drains. Thanks to Daniel, by the way, for sending that in. You can do so on our ABC 10 app. Low pressure system, like I said, driving in this big moisture plume from the Pacific. It's called an atmospheric river, and they actually bring some beneficial rain. Unfortunately, this one, as an AR5, is primarily hazardous, with ash and debris flows, roadway flooding, and we've seen the rises in creeks and streams. A couple of creeks that we've been watching throughout the day now overflowing their banks and causing some road closures. So be aware, many of them in the Sacramento region. We know Arcade, Kirby, Dry Creek. We've been watching those very closely. Let's go back to these atmospheric rivers just for a moment here, because in the west, they bring 25 to 50% of our water supply. They are the main cause of flooding, but also the absence of them is the main cause for drought as well. An atmospheric river also carries about the same amount of water vapor as 20 Mississippi rivers. That's why we've been seeing such high totals, because they are just so filled with water as they make their target into the Pacific Northwest and all throughout the West Coast. This one in particular heading Northern California. Could see an additional 1 to 2 inches of rain coming into the valley, and another about 5 inches or so for some parts of the foothills. Now, this is going to be changing rapidly. So again, that's why it's so important to stay up to speed on all the developing changes that we see overnight tonight through early tomorrow. Periods of heavy rain continue in the valley overnight tonight. At 5 a.m., that's about the time that we start to see more widespread snow through the Sierra. We've got the cold air working in. That's going to do two things. One, it's going to bring down the snow level, help to suppress some of the risk of flooding and debris flows for the Sierra and some of those burn scar areas. So that will certainly help there. Also gives us a bit of instability for the valley. So right about noontime and thereafter, have the slight chance of thunderstorms in the valley and also through the foothills. Snow will continue to fall in the Sierra, and it is going to be piling up, not not a good day to travel in the high country. Thunderstorm risk will be through the valley, the Bay Area, and the foothills for tomorrow and all along the west coast. And then we turn our attention to that winter storm warning. That's going to continue until 11 o'clock tomorrow night, above 6,000 feet. 10 to 48 inches of snow. That's right. So travel hugely impacted for tomorrow as the snow begins to fall. Anywhere from 6 to 48 inches of snow. Some of the bigger spots, Carson, Ebbets, and Sonora passes. Donner, though, getting about 8 to 24 inches of snow. And some of those ski resorts are saying, hey, we're going to be opening early. Part of this is in the background happening La Nina. So we typically see a slightly wetter than average pattern in Northern California when we have these La Nina patterns and through the Pacific Northwest. So it's officially happening, and it certainly seems to be playing out. The last time we had it, it was a drought buster back in 2016, 2017, when in October we had 4 3/4 inches of rain. And we've had that almost today alone for many places. So this could be a very good start to a drought busting year. We'll have to stay tuned for that.